Addy Soldiers. If you like the look of my bookshelves behind me, just know that soon there might be some changes. And I'm not gonna tell you any more than that. It is once again time to do a reading wrap up, and I did not do one in July because honestly I went through a huge reading slump in July, but then I feel like I kind of made up for it in August. So I'm just gonna give this a blanket summer reading wrap up and we're gonna leave it at that. Also, I'm trying a new setting on my camera and this looks like really nice, so love that for me. I don't know if you can tell this, but I've had 3 coffees today. My summer was full of saucy, sexy, spicy romances, some swashbuckling adventure pirates, some witch family politics, some K-pop stars, and one very disgruntled vampire real estate agent. But before we get started, I'm gonna take a minute or two to thank the sponsor of today's video, Ana Luisa Jewelry. Ana Luisa is a small, carbon-neutral, sustainable jewelry company that specializes in everyday, elevated basics with a twist. They've sent me a collection of things to show off today, the first of which being one I am already wearing. Surprise! It is my little R charm necklace. They have recently extended their letter charm line, so now you can get just the letter charm, you can get the charm with the necklace, you can get a letter charm bracelet, and you can also get letter charm earrings. So of course I got a little R, but I felt it looked lonely, so I also got it a little S. These are water resistant and humidity resistant sterling silver, and don't they just look delightful when they're layered together? So my first and last initial, my last name is Sargent, which that's why I always say Addy Soldiers. A lot of people are new and don't know that, and I did have that question asked me the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I haven't explained that since 2015. But y'all know I love a dainty little silver chain necklace, and these have already become such a staple of any kind of jewelry that I'm wearing when I leave my apartment sometimes. The third thing they sent me is something I'll have to remove my bees for, because I was given a beautiful pair of the gold Michelle earrings. In my earring collection video, I mentioned that I had 1 pair of tiny gold earrings that I didn't really like. So I can get rid of those now because I am in love with these. They're a stunning, shiny, textured gold coin on a half hoop. And they're surprisingly light. These remind me a lot of, okay, this is the part where, you know, we all discover what childhood trauma we had based on what mythology that we were obsessed with. So I loved Greek mythology and still to this day do, and also started studying Roman art and architecture in university. And even though there's no like figure on them, they really remind me of like Roman coins. Or maybe something that you would see the goddess Athena wearing. Like I put these on and I'm like, I need a spear, but also I'm totally down to check out that new minimal coffee shop down the street. These earrings represent the duality of women. But let's also say that you, like me, do not have your ears pierced because I didn't get mine pierced until just last year. Well, you're in luck because Ana Luisa also carries little ear cuffs like this one for you to try out a piercing. Okay, work. I thought I was just gonna have 1 hole in my ears, but maybe I might have to get another one. They have multiple other ear cuffs, but this particular one, the Eleni, is gold with a little gold chain, and this is also made of gold-dipped recycled sterling silver. If you want to check out any of the pieces that I have on today, you can visit the link down below to go to analuisa.com, and you can use my code AModelWho'sRead20 to get 20% off your first order. So now that you've seen all my shinies, we can move into the books. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle in. We're gonna go over all the books that I have managed to read the summer of 2023. So number 1 is a book I have a bone to pick with, or wing to pick with, and that is the 3rd of the Court of Guilt and Shadow by C.C. Jones and Harper Wilde, which is called Amid Secrets and Shadows. Oh, this is a bad sign already. Oh, finally! So none of you were gonna tell me that this came out, the 3rd of a series that I have been yelling about on the internet for like a full year at this point, talking about, oh, how much I want the 3rd one, when's the 3rd one coming out? I had to stumble across this, like a plebeian, on Kindle Unlimited one random night at like 11 p.m. Like I said, this is 3rd of a new adult fantasy fairy series where our main character, Arwen, has these powers she can't control, and 3 sexy dudes with the voices of phone sex operators are helping her, you know, discover who she really is, and there's fairies and other kinds of various paranormal creatures. Really love the world of this. I think the polydynamic is really good. I think all of the sexy times are very sexy and actually make sense within the plot line. I really like the first 2 books. And I really did not like this one. I don't know what happened with this book. The writing just went down so hard and not in a fun way. A lot of this like, she instinctively knew that, etc, etc. And I'm like, how would you know? And I am not jazzed at this new love interest who's introduced, who apparently is a sadistic assassin who is described with words like psychotic and manic, and then it is heavily implied that love and or banging our main character is going to fix him. And I was ready to like Dominic. I think he is very morally gray, but he also has a very sympathetic internal monologue. But I hate this whole, like, he's so crazy, but love can save him. And I'm like, no, oh my god, this man does not need you to bang him. He needs a fucking therapist. That being said, he is still better than most of the dark romance love interests that I've seen out there these days. I ended up giving this book 2 stars, 1 star for the threesome and 1 star for the prison break. So right after reading that, I was still in a spicy romance mood, but I wanted something that I knew was going to actually deliver. And I happened to swipe an advance copy of Cruel Seduction by Katie Robert off of my boss's desk, so I thought now's the perfect time to continue with the 5th book of her Dark Olympus series. I love how at the beginning it was like, ooh, spicy Greek retelling, like modern romance, and then after Radiant Sin, it was like, shit's getting real. There is political drama, the world as we know it is falling apart, and there is so much hate fucking. This is a story of the new Aphrodite, aka Eris, aka the sister of Persephone. She is put in a political marriage with the new Hephaestus, aka Theseus, aka one of the sons of Minos from like the other realm. But also Adonis is Eris, aka Aphrodite's ex, and he's like not happy with how the situation is going. And then also we get Pandora, who is the like childhood best friend of Theseus, aka Hephaestus, and it's just, we just get a love polycule, and honestly it was pretty fun. But also, damn, Katie Robert is not holding back anymore, because we not only get some incredibly interesting sex scenes that I truly question the anatomy of people after reading, but also stuff about names and honorifics and how to keep your sense of self when other people just see you as a title or as a figurehead, and also the mental toll of childhood emotional abuse. However, I do think it's weird that multiple times people are described as earthy, and I don't know what that means. Are they dirty? Do they smell like tar pits? Are they covered in worms? Like, what is the deal with earthy as a descriptor? But once again, Katie Robert literally nails it, and now we have another book of the Dark Olympus series, and I'm really excited for Beautiful Ruin. This next book is what I blame for my major reading slump in July, because this took me an entire freaking month to read. I've wanted to read this book for a really long time, so when Tor sent me these new bind-ups of it, I was so excited. But also, this is one of the most like politically dense high fantasy books that I've read in the longest time, so I was loving everything but also slogging through it. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was Cushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. Like I said, new fancy bind-ups from Tor. This is actually a book that came out in 1991. This book is politics, capital P, capital O, capital L, capital rest of politics. There's a lot that happens in this book. Actually, that was my one complaint. Ma'am, Jacqueline, this book is too damn long. If I were editing this today, we're gonna have to sit down and cut some stuff. This follows Phaedra, who at a young age is sold to a brothel keeper, and she is trained to be a courtesan. However, her mark is then bought by somebody who trains her to also be a spy. So we watch her growing up and her training in both arenas of life, and then when finally politics come to a head, she is caught in the middle of this intense war. But her training in secrets, in languages, and in people may be a linchpin in being able to stop the war and keep the foreign invaders away, as well as protect a new queen from the politicking happening closest to her. But also, she is cursed or gifted by one of the gods of old to take pleasure from pain. So it is kinky fantasy. This book was explicit because of the nature of our character, but it never felt exploitatively explicit. Like, it never felt like, oh, I don't know if I should be here. Like, it was always such just part of the story and part of Phaedra that I thought that that was really well done. I have complicated feelings towards this book because while it is extraordinarily progressive, conversations on forced versus chosen sex work and queerness, what it means to have a culture, how far you'll go for your faith, and then also the exoticism of the other. But at the same time, like, it was the 90s, so there is some like racism light, but also a lot of it does get challenged, so it could have been worse. I laughed, I cried, I created a deep parasocial relationship between me and multiple characters. I also loved Jocelyn. He was a character that snuck up on me. I did not think I was gonna like him as much as I did, and they did send me like the whole trilogy, and at this point, like 50% of why I'm gonna keep reading it is for him alone. He is my baby cinnamon roll with a knife, and I love him. I'm really glad I finally got the opportunity to read this, and if you've been thinking about it, give it a shot. And then in July, I did a video with Harlequin promoting some of their saucy summer reads, so I have 3 from that fun readathon, if you want to go and check that out. The first of which being a gay historical rom-com rom-com that was The Rulebook for Restless Rogues by Jess Everly. Out of the 3 Harlequin books that I read, this is my favorite child. This follows David, who is a young socialite who owns a gay bar, and his best friend Noah, who is an eccentric young tailor's apprentice, who rekindle their once deep connection when the baron that owns the land on which David's club is sitting wants to shut down the club. And I'm gonna give you all some advice, okay? Don't go in there blindsided like I was, because I looked at this and I was like, ooh, fun, cute little historical rom-com, no big deal, teehee. And then once I started reading, it was like, oh no, oh, the heartbreaking themes of what it means to be queer and being in a society that doesn't accept you for who you are. But at the same time, this book is so full of love, and there are descriptions in here that are some of the most romantic that I've ever read. And there are historical drag queens in this, because Noah is in fact one of those performers, and so we get to see the whole showbiz side of that. There's gay characters, there's trans characters, there's sapphics. Actually, one of my favorite scenes of this book is when a gaggle of gays disrupts a soiree of sapphics, and then they start arguing over menswear. Also, if you saw in my reading vlog, this book is spicy as hell. Oh my god. This is not something that you should be reading in public like I was. So yeah, I really enjoyed this gay historical rom-com that takes place in an underground queer club, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would highly recommend this. The second book I read in my Harlequin readathon was The Witch is Back by Sophie Morgan. And this is a contemporary witchy second chance romance between Emma, who was a witch and left witch society to open up her own bar, and Bastian, who at one point was her fiance, who ended up leaving 10 years ago, never explaining why, and now he's back in town. He needs a favor. He needs Emma to pretend that they're about to get married again. But of course, magical contracts are no easier than their mortal ones, so we have to work together in this marriage of convenience, fake dating, second chance romance scenario, while we're also dealing with family members and like the pressures of witch society. The voice in this was really fun, and watching Bastian like re-fall in love with Emma was so sweet. And their witch marriage rituals are so freaking cool. Like, there's magical tattoos and vows under the full moon, and like, human marriage needs to step up its game. But something that just kept coming up again and again that I thought was very funny was, look, I'm not here to argue the fact that humanity as a whole is annoying as fuck, but all these witches are constantly going on about like, the humans at my human bar with their human emotions and their human jobs. Are we really that different? Like, you know, you mix potions, we mix cocktails, you get magical tattoos, I get regular tattoos, we both get cheated on by our ex-boyfriends. Like, what is the difference, babe? And the ending was very cheesy, in like kind of a cute way, so I don't know. I didn't hate this, I didn't love it. It might be more your speed if you're somebody who likes those contemporary witchy romances. Like, this might really float your wand. It might really brim your hat, I don't know. But it is not floating my boat, so I'm going to pass this on to a friend. Another book that I'm going to be passing on is the corny and horny harlequiniest harlequin romance that I have ever read, and that is Just a Few Fake Kisses by J.C. Lee. This is a double bind-up of these 2 titles, so we're just talking about this one today. Just a Few Fake Kisses follows Chloe, who is in a string trio with her 2 sisters, and she finds out that this very famous violinist is going to be playing with them, but then to avoid a scandal that he caused, they start fake dating, and then, oh my god, we actually fall in love. I don't mind a man with a violin. I really don't. But this man in particular, I despise. No, I don't despise him. He's just, both of them are so annoying that I'm like, yeah, okay, you deserve each other. This is trope salad with 2 characters who constantly talk about wanting to bang. This is maybe one of the most heterosexual things I've ever read. Also, as somebody who lives in Vancouver, I do not appreciate the Pacific Northwest slander that is going on in this book. So not for me, but if you want to read about a hot older man with a violin, I'm not gonna stop you. For this next book, I'm asking a simple question, and who here loves a heist? I see you, put your hand up. I snagged a copy of Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu, where a secret agent and a pop star go undercover to expose the illegal dealings of a billionaire. Truth be told, I have had some issues with Marie Lu's newest books. I really haven't liked any of her other series very much, and I'm so happy that I stuck it out because I loved this book. We have our world famous K-pop star Winter, who, what a brilliant and nuanced male character. He's contracted by this secret agency to help them take down a billionaire by like getting close to the billionaire's daughter, who's a huge fan of him. And Sydney, who is our other secret agent, is tasked with being his bodyguard and also trying to expose inner dealings. Sydney was a little, not like other girls, like a couple of times, but that being said, she is ruthless and quick and smart, so I didn't mind at all. I don't know what Marie Lu was on when she was writing this book, but it was like twist after twist after twist, and there's amazing action-packed sequences. Like, the whole last half of the novel felt like 4 entire seasons of NCIS were just jammed into one book. But also, ow, my heart. Like, there's so many themes in here on like loneliness and longing and like wanting so badly to connect with somebody, but having to keep them at arm's length because of like your own celebrity, or you not wanting them to get hurt, or even just like the isolation that comes with being in the public eye. That like, I cried multiple times when reading this. Ooh, and this next fantasy is where the swashbuckling begins, because I got sent a copy of Darkwater Daughter by H.M. Long, and this is the perfect piratey weather witch adventure fantasy that I have been waiting for. Our main character, Mary, is a storm singer. She is a weather witch that can control the weather with her voice, and she escapes a pirate captain to go to his arch enemy to offer her services in hopes that they can track down this mysterious pirate who may or may not have her mother. And we also have Samuel, a disgraced naval officer who is not a pirate, you guys, okay? He's doing his best. He and his crew are also trying to track down this elusive pirate, but when Mary steals a talisman of his, it turns into this chase across the seas, and the two of them keep getting drawn back together through piracy and loyalty and magic. First of all, I love the magic of Darkwater Daughter. Like, we have whole tithing islands and spirits called gistings that live in the trees, and if you get a gisting tree and you turn it into a ship, then the gisting will like live in the figurehead of the ship and like help magic the ship out of trouble. But there's also weather magic that's built on song and an entire storm wall of cloud that no ship can sail through. It's very Pirates of the Caribbean magic on crack. Like, there is so many twists and turns in here. It's this grimy, slushy, icy atmosphere. It's full of adrenaline and swashbuckling, but also there's like a bit of a love story in there. But I do find it really funny and very realistic that we're like, yeah, okay, like, we're looking at hot people. We love some hot people, but like, we're kind of busy right now. Like, we do not have time to kiss. And oh my god, this book has accurate historical dress. It's a damn miracle. This is 1600s, so that means that we have the shift and the stockings and the stays and the petticoats and the bum rolls and the hip pads and the pockets and the freaking lace head caps. Hannah, you are a woman after my own historical dress enthused heart. The final boss battle with the creatures from the dark water was so fucking sick. I cannot wait for the sequel, Black Tide Sun, which comes out next year. Next thing we're gonna talk about is, it's a little silly. It's a little silly, goofy book. Little silly goose moment that also involves a lot of death. Tor sent me a wonderful finished copy of Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, where a group of fantastical paranormals, including a vampire real estate agent, the godson of death, a very rude poltergeist, a demonic personal trainer, an angel in love with a demon, and the son of a god, all get pulled into a game that immortals play when death himself goes missing. And there's only one rule to that game, and it's don't lose. I like Olivia Blake's style of writing, but I know not everyone will enjoy this narration style. We do have a narrator, and it is very overly wordy and tongue-in-cheek and very pretentious. But I happen to love that style, so I thought it was great. Very Good Omens-esque in its humor and also playing on the stereotypes of otherworldly creatures. I especially like that we get to see creatures that are not as well known in the West. So we get some representation, for example, Filipino ashwangs, which are a type of vampiric creature instead of just a straight up Western-style vampire. Now, this was previously self-published, and I'm assuming that it didn't get an edit before it was republished by Tor. Because there's a couple lines in here that I kind of side-eyed a little, but I'll let them pass. A very fun cast of characters, and while yes, it was overly quippy, the whole vibe of the book is to put you in a silly, goofy mood, so I didn't mind it as much. It didn't feel so try-hard. It was a little long. Like, did we need every character in this book? debatable. Some got like way more screen time than others, but overall I'd enjoyed myself quite a bit and think this did have a satisfying ending. So the next cute, fun summer rom-com I picked up is going to bring you right back to those feelings of sleepaway camp, because we're talking about That Summer Feeling by Bridget Morrissey. Our main character, Garland, is recently divorced from the man she thought was the husband of her dreams, and she's staying on her sister's couch. She's feeling really low about herself, but when she gets invited to a adult sleepaway camp by some new friends of hers, she and her sister jump at the chance to kind of reinvent themselves, and Garland thinks maybe she can have like a summertime fling. But then when she gets to the camp and decides that she's gonna try and make this tall, blonde, muscly man fall in love with her, she starts falling in love with his sister instead. Oh my god, they were roommates. Well, cabin mates, but you know, same. I have mixed feelings about this book because I have been seeing it online for like a year. So the hype and the build-up was something spectacular, but then the book itself was just kind of okay. I did really like the deconstructing of relationship codependency and people-pleasing behaviors in adulthood. I also like the themes of making friends as an adult and coming into yourself maybe a little bit later than you were expecting. I think what bothered me about this is just like, there was no stakes. Like, the author went, conflict, what's that? And who needs it? There was a ton of underutilized side plots like the twins or the Magnuson brothers or even the sister. Like, what the heck happened to her? She was just kind of there, and then the end. And Garland and Stevie are cute together, and I really like Stevie, but it happens so fast. Like, this takes place over a week, and I think that was way too short of a time span. This should have taken place at minimum 2 weeks. It would have been a lot better if there was more time to develop the relationship, because these two ladies saying I love you after 3 days. That is the most U-Haul of U-Haul lesbians that I have ever read. But also the family traditions on both sides just felt like it would have been more emotionally substantial if there had been more build up to it. I know low stakes and like no stakes books and cozy books are really big right now. So if you want like a super cute queer girl summer rom-com with no stakes to it, maybe you'll love this. And maybe because of that, for my next read, I went to my TBR bookcase and I went, okay, what book on here has the highest odds of giving me the most conflict? And so I decided my next book was The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Another magical piratey swashbuckling adventure, except this one is a medieval Islamic fantasy. This book also has a narrator telling you the story, and I happen to love that type of narration setup. This follows the legendary pirate queen Amina al-Sirafi, except now she's in her 40s, she's retired, she has a kid, she just wants to be left alone on her farm and like not deal with any of her past. So what do you think ends up happening? She's blackmailed by a wealthy woman who ends up being the mother of a past crewmate of hers into retrieving her daughter who has run away, but also in exchange for vast amounts of money and her family's safety. Thinking it an easy prize, Amina once again returns to the sea, only to find herself in the middle of this magical mystery, and there is more and more to the other world and more to the situation than she ever could have known. I've said this for years. I'm so done with all these dumb, young 16-year-olds going on adventures with magic swords and like not having a damn clue how the world works. And I love that we get this like 45-ish-year-old protagonist who's like, I have seen some shit, I have done some shit, and I am done with your shit. Amina is great. She does not put up with anybody, but she's also struggling internally, and that tension is so good. There's all these themes of identity and legacy and loyalty from her past crew, the anxieties of motherhood and how she's had to leave her daughter behind and how much her life has changed since she's had her daughter, but also that almost begrudging need and want to return to sea and return to this legendary swashbuckling life. Something that took me a little while to get into was that, okay, so the author is Muslim and our main character is Muslim, and there's a lot in here about God. Like, God is mentioned almost every paragraph constantly. And as someone who did not grow up religious and has not read a lot of very highly religious fiction, it did throw me at the beginning. It's not in a bad way. It just like took a little bit to get into. And I know that Shannon Chakraborty can write magic. She's the author of the Daevabad trilogy. But the magic in here felt kind of weird because it just kind of kept like ramping up, but like randomly, like, oh, there's Curses now. Okay. Oh my god. Wait, there's demons now? Like, since when? Oh, now we have magical artifacts? Who set this up? That being said, at the end of this, the magic just ramps up and up and up. We get a freaking sea monster battle. We get an amazing, like, cave of wonders. Also, a fascinating author's note. So I would highly recommend picking this up. It is historical and magical and full of adventure and a protagonist who knows what the hell she's doing. And I love that for her. And lastly is a quirky, fun, nerdy rom-com that I absolutely adored. I'm ending the summer on a high note with Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon, where a ghostwriter and a struggling actor are helping each other out on page and in the sheets. Chandler is a ghostwriter who feels like she's hit a block in her career path when she goes to an event for a book that she wrote and gets snubbed by the author. So she goes to the bar, she meets a guy, and thinking that she'll just have this one fun one-night stand hookup, they go back to his hotel room where they end up having the worst sex of her life. However, the next day she gets a call from her agent asking if she wants to ghostwrite a book for a struggling actor. She says yes, and when they meet up, turns out the guy that she went home with is this actor, and now they have to work together without compromising their business contract. So they strike a deal that is not part of the memoir contract, where he will give her all the salacious details that she wants, and she will teach him how to be good in bed. But then, of course, as we're spending more time together and revealing secrets of the past, maybe we actually fall in love. This was so much fun. It was quirky without being annoying about it. And actor Finn got his start playing a like nerdy role on this werewolf teen show, and it's so fun to see all the parallels drawn between like the Vampire Diaries and like Teen Wolf and all those really like cheesy paranormal CW shows that I was in love with growing up. And because we're doing bedroom lessons, it's extraordinarily sex positive to the degree that like I would have learned more from this book, sex ed wise, than I would have learned in literally my entire secondary education. And also because we're getting sex lessons, the tensions in this book are hot. We slow things down, we explore options, we make Excel spreadsheets. Whew! And this like sweet, empathetic, nerdy redhead man with a bunch of freckles and beautiful hazel eyes and cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass is like trying his best to empathize and like please his partner. I'm just like, I am falling in love with this man. Once again, communication is key in any relationship. I love how we talk about that. And we also talk about like mental disorders and anxiety and OCD and childhood trauma and childhood stardom and going to therapy. There was also less conflict in this book than I thought there was gonna be. I kept kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, and we never really got that extreme fallout, explosive third act breakup. So that was also kind of nice. Like the ending was just so sweet and lovely. So I really, really loved this. Also, I fully agree with Chandler on sock supremacy. This is a sock-wearing household. I don't care if you're one of my loved ones. I don't want to see your feet. And that is that on that. Oh my god, we did it. Happy to announce that I am out of my reading slump. I'm currently ahead of my Goodreads goal. Like, life is good. Please leave down below of what you thought of these books. Have you read any? What were on your summer reading lists? I want to know. I'm nosy. I'm definitely on a piratey kick now that I've finished Amina al-Sirafi and Darkwater Daughter, so expect some more swashbuckling in September's wrap-up, though I might not have as many books to talk about at the end of next month because all the books that I bought recently are like 500 pages. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I know, it's because I love a good story or whatever. Thank you again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video, and if you would like to check them out, their website is down below, along with my code that will save you 20% off. You want to go check out some beautiful, sustainable, elevated basics that never go out of style and are fashionable all year round. As I film this, I'm getting ready to go away for the weekend, so I'm gonna go and pack because, of course, I left that to the last minute, and now I have to figure out how many books I'm gonna bring for like 3 days away. The answer is, of course, too many. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!